In his signature trench coat, red wig, and top hat, Harpo Marx was a mugging, pratfalling, horn-honking clown who entertained audiences for nearly 60 years. He could bring down a house with laughter, but when he became Harpo the harpist, he transformed from clown to musician. The laughter faded, and audiences listened in amazement. Perhaps Harpo himself best described this transformation in his 1961 autobiography, Harpo Speaks. There is a character. He wears a ratty red wig and shredded raincoat. He can't talk, but makes idiotic faces, honks a horn, whistles, and leaps after blondes. When he's chasing a girl across the screen, it's him. When he sits down and plays the harp, it's me. Whenever I touch the strings of the harp, I stop being an actor. For many moviegoers, Harpo Marx provided their first and only introduction to harp music. Today, thanks to the late-night returns of the old black-and-white Marx Brothers movies, Harpo continues to entertain audiences old and new. And even though last fall, 2009, marked the 45th anniversary of his passing, the comedian's music lives on. In fact, outside the professional harp community, he remains one of the best ambassadors for the harp the world has known. And his work continues to entertain and inspire. Among both professional and amateur harpists today, opinions vary about Harpo Marx. Was he a professional harpist? Or was he a professional comedian who played the harp? Should his unconventional playing style make a difference in how his work is perceived by harpists today? Regardless of one's answers to these questions, the life and career of Harpo Marx was nothing less than remarkable. Born Adolf Marx on November 23, 1888, he came from a poor family that lived in tenement housing in Brooklyn, New York. Harpo dropped out of school in second grade and grew up working at dozens of odd jobs. Having always disliked his given name, he later changed it to Arthur. In 1910, as a young man of 22, Harpo joined his brothers on the vaudeville stage circuit. He took up the harp only after his mother, Minnie, sent him the harp while he was on the road with his brothers. She had learned they could earn an additional $5 per week if they had a harp in their act. The harp had belonged to Minnie's mother and had sat in the corner of their apartment for years. Having some self-taught piano experience, Harpo taught himself to play chords on the harp as accompaniment to the piano pieces his brother Chico played in the act. Through his own ingenuity and motivation, Harpo continued to teach himself to play the harp and eventually picked up his famous nickname. In time, his talent earned him an international reputation as he performed in movies as well as in stage shows around the globe. In 1933, he became the first person in America to perform in Russia after the two nations formed normal diplomatic relations. He received standing ovations during the 6 weeks he toured there as a goodwill ambassador. Harpo never learned to read music and received little instruction through the years. He did, however, develop a friendship with internationally known harpist, the late Mildred Dillon, and received some training from her. Dillon met Harpo when she was a teenager. I don't know how old he was when I first met him. He was older than I was, but he was dead serious about music. He had great reference for my knowledge, Dillon said. Music was an overwhelming passion, and classical music fulfilled his life. The way he's on screen, the way everyone knows him, is the way he played after I began teaching him. We met before we made any of the movies. Harpo had individuality, and he never changed. I never could make him learn to read music. Harpo wasn't really an intellectual, but he was brilliant. History has a tendency to remember many celebrities with a certain amount of reverence, whether it is deserved or not. However, the reverence accorded to Harpo Marx is anything but overstated. Modern screenwriter and Harpo Marx historian Benji Samit describes him this way. He was a gentle, compassionate, comedic genius. People were drawn to him for reasons that even he could not explain. Harpo had a genuine love for life that people found immensely appealing. It was almost contagious. Wherever he went, he loved people, and they loved him right back. Some have described him as one of the kindest men in show business. Adapted and excerpted from Remembering Harpo, His Life and Legacy from the American Harp Journal, winter 2009. This marks the end of your listening passage.